let's get started with a few things tonight. Extra welcome. Who is new in the room? Like this is a first time in a class? You just signed up? I love that. Extra welcome to you guys tonight. For sure. We have a great lineup. I'm going to ask Alana Bookout to come up with me. You are going to have an amazing privilege tonight to hear her. She's a Diamond leader. She is going to talk about our income opportunity tonight because, and I'm going to have you say why. You can either cuddle up to me or he will turn that on.
Okay, no, that's not on.
It's on.
Yes. Is it on?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, can y'all do me a favor and be real honest? Yes. Yeah? You don't have to really be, but if you want to be. If you raise your hand and tell me if you were dragged here, you really don't want to be here, because I love you. Yes! He deserves something up here, like a nitro
Give that man
or something.
Chocolate.
Yes,
Chris.
I love you for being honest. He's like, this is my worst nightmare.
You're welcome.
Okay, now second opportunity to be honest. How many of you are here solely because you just want to hear the product side or what Danette's going to share, but you have no interest in the business side? Be loud and proud. Yes? I love you. This is good. This is good. So here's what I want you to do is just do me a favor. Think about it. Because here's what we all did. I think every business builder that's here, even if we're a hobby share, we said from the beginning, I ain't doing that ever. So April is the one that introduced me to Young Living, and some of you know this. I'm just real quick, Danette. I'm not going to take your time. But anyway, she did, and when she asked me if I used oils, I thought she was talking about coconut oil, and I'm like, I use that all the time. But when she asked me about the income opportunity, I said, heck to the no. I might have used another word. And I just told her, I don't want you to ever ask me that again. I have a whole other life happening here with my kids. I don't have time for that. I assumed that I was not interested in it without even hearing what it would be like, what it looked like, all of that. So what happens is that we all assume this without knowing, without taking the time to just hear. So one of these quotes that I brought up here is, nothing is worse than missing an opportunity that could have changed your life. So this isn't a long business thing at the end, and it's going to be fun because I like to be real dorky. But that's my only favor. If you do that for yourself, just to hear it, because then you get to say, I'm not assuming anymore. I already know this is not for me, because that's what we want you to do at the end of this, is just know, is it yes? Am I interested? No, but at least just think about it. Think about hearing about it, because it's pretty awesome. So here you go.
Excellent. Great, thank you.
Oh, I was supposed to ask questions.
Oh, okay, ask questions.
Didn't you tell me to do that, and then
Sure.
I forgot?
Okay.
So these are the questions to consider that I'm going to say again. It was in your little
In the invite.
Mm-hmm. Think about this while she's talking, or don't, because you need to pay attention. But try to multitask. And I want you to ask yourself, do you love the product? Let me see. Yes? You love the product? Has it been life-changing? Yes? Can you imagine life without it? No. So do you wish you would have known about it sooner? Yes. Please, Jesus, take me back so that I can do this from the beginning. And the problem is, how many people do we have in our circle that are really desperate for hope, desperate for something? And if we don't tell them that this exists, how will they ever know? It doesn't have to be businessy, but that's the whole point of the business opportunity or the income opportunity, is the fact that we are changing lives, whether you want to really pursue it business-like or you just want to be a servant and help other people. So
that's right.
Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you. We just want you all to be educated. That's what we do, is educate. So we are happy about that. So you probably read, if you're on our Facebook page, and it's my 14-year oil anniversary is what we call that on Friday. I know I started when I was 12. That wasn't supposed to be funny. Okay, so I'm going to ask a few questions as we get started. Who here is registered already for convention? Oh, nice. I think I'm just going to keep your hands up, because I got a spotter here in Philip, and he's going to go hand out a couple Ningxia Reds for me. Or just throw them. I just don't want to. Yeah. Thank you. Takes a village, right? Okay. How about who is going for their first time to convention? Like already signed up. Oh, I'm so excited. They need nitro. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Whose first Young Living farm visit, like for you to go to the farm, was not during convention? Like you went to a farm, but it wasn't during convention. Yeah? And, sorry, is that like too loud? Should I be like whispering? I think it's kind of loud. So out of those people right there, who went to the Ecuador farm first? France? Winter harvest. We have two back there that need something here. Yes, I definitely want one of these. Thank you. Okay, and who has enrolled in Sleek? Are y'all aware of Sleek in 60? Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you guys. This is going to be awesome. So, who enrolled the earliest? Like, who enrolled in December? Like, someone enrolled in December for Sleek in 60? Or did y'all wait till January because you wanted to be sure, like, you really wanted to be healthy? Let's just wait till after the holidays. How about January 1st? 2nd? 3rd? 4th? First one I come to, 5th? There's my girl right there. Jan gets that. Yeah, Jan right there. Sorry, I think it goes to Jan, actually. Woo! Okay, how about, who enrolled someone this week? Oh, I love that. What do we have here? Oh, I wanted to give these away. Who's tried the Sleek Shakes? No? Who's, just go, anyone with your hand up. He's gonna, yeah, he saw it. I'm happy with that. Woo! I love that. Meal replacement. We have 3 different kinds of shakes, actually 4. 2 of our pure protein actually have different flavors, but 3 different ones. So I think that's it. Thanks, Spotter. Doing a great job, Philip. Glad you came tonight. So we are going to get started, and we're going to talk about some exciting things. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story tonight and some of the things that set us apart in Young Living. And you're going to see some of the reasons why you didn't even know you're glad you're here, but you're glad you're here with Young Living. So we're going to see Gary Young, who's our founder, and he found Young Living about 30 years ago, but it wasn't called that. We've been Young Living for about 22 years. He is the resident master of all trades, can fix anything. He has produced our farms and very dutifully designed them, purchased them, still plants them and harvests them today. And you're going to see some of the beginnings of some of those farms. So he was given one of his great French mentors, who you're going to get to meet his widow anyway tonight. And he was told that there will come a time that if you do not grow it, you will not have it. So this is what drives Gary to go after finding farms, finding key places in the world where key things grow, right? Not everything grows in the same places, right? He's tried to grow frankincense in Utah, and it just doesn't work. He's tried to grow helichrysum in Utah, and it just doesn't work. Wolfberries, you can go to the farm, and they've been in the ground, I don't know, like 10 years, and they're like this high. And they're pretty, but they don't produce what they can, because God made plants for certain parts of the world, right? And so he goes after those certain things. So that is why he invests so much into our farms. And Young Living has 8 farms that we own throughout the world. And that's one of my favorite things when we're talking about copycat companies and things like that. And they're like, oh yeah, we just have the best. And because anybody can say that. And you say, oh, great, so one of my favorite things is, great, where are your farms? I'd love to go visit your farms. And they're like, well, yeah, I don't really know. And so I say, well, like anybody can go to our farms. We have 8 farms around the world, and you can go and visit them. Even partner farms. We've been to our Israeli farm, one of our partners, and the Hawaii farm, and you can go and visit these places. But nobody else does that. So pretty exciting. So of all the essential oil companies out there, why Young Living? About 3-4 years ago, it was why essential oils, right? Wasn't even on the map. People would say, what are essential oils for? Where can I get them? I don't even know anything about them. And now you can get them at Walmart. Garbage. But you can get them at Walmart. You can get them at Barnes & Noble, because I like to buy the things for my health at the bookstore. You buy them. We're in Virginia having breakfast, and this little breakfast place had oils. A little store in downtown McKinney has oils. They're Young Living, so that's okay. But it's everywhere now, right? It is now part of our culture, and that's because of Gary and the 22 years of building Young Living into that, right? It didn't just happen 4 years ago, right? We all think it's overnight success, and that's not quite how that works. So let me... All right, so this is how I started. If you saw, did anybody see on the 12 Days of Diamonds, my story on that? A few of you, there'll be a few similarities. But Jim's aunt, I believe it was the fall of '02, said to me, sorry, I got a thieves' lozenge under my tongue, so I can hold my voice all night. So she says to me, hey, have you ever heard of essential oils? I'm like, oh, you mean those things that smell good? Like, I had the exact same response that Gary did when he heard about them, 3 decades ago. And she said, yeah, but it's so much more than that. And I really didn't know what she meant. So in January of '03, she calls from San Antonio and says, hey, Gary, the founder of Young Living, is going to be in town. And so you want to go hear him? And I was like, sure. And I didn't know anybody and I didn't know anything. But I showed up and I sat in the back of the room, and he was showing pictures and slides of ancient distilleries, like all through the Middle East, in France, in Europe, all different places. And I was like totally blown away. So then he says, he puts a picture up there in France and says, we just purchased the only American-owned organic lavender farm in France. And we're going to allow members to go and work on the farm. And I was like, I'm in. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know what they do. But going to France and working in a lavender field is on my list. And I opened my planner, and this is what was there. There's this little card, I think it was from 1998, that I'd been carrying around for like 5 years in my wallet. 98, 03, that would make sense. And it's all worn off, but it's still there. And it was this farm in France, and I was like, I want to go. And I don't want to just go visit. Like, I want to go work there, but I just didn't know what that looked like. All of a sudden, I'm in that room looking what it looks like. Gary's up there showing it to me. And I thought, okay, I'm in. And, of course, I had the Prayer of Jabez in there as well, ink stained and all. And, that's come to fruition. And it was an amazing time. So all of a sudden, that was January. So I'm in that night. And I saw a thing in the magazine that said, hey, you need to write a letter, like why you should go, why you're so special you should go to France. So I dreamed up something and sent it in. And then like 5 weeks before you were to go, I get this call, like, you've been chosen to go to France. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. And so there were 13 of us scheduled for the first week and 14 for the second week. 2 weeks before we left, the ground war started in Iraq. And you remember, France was not keen on Americans. And like, we couldn't even say French fry and, things like that. So it was not an easy time, so nobody wanted to go. So out of the 13 and 14, only 7 of us showed up the first week and nobody showed up the second week. So I actually got to extend my trip. But what happened was I showed up to this little, if you only knew the story of how I actually got there. on a wing and a prayer in a day and a half, and knew nobody. Wore my Swedish backpack, spoke Swedish so nobody would say, oh, that blonde American girl, like, we hate Americans, so, like, I'm by myself, and no trains are running because they're on strike. I mean, it was crazy. But I end up here with Gary, and I was so excited. Like, would you not be excited looking at this? Like, I was fired up. It was so beautiful. This is the town of Simian-le-Rotonde, and it is just so pretty, and this is why it's called Simian the Round, because of this castle kind of fortress they have there, and so you can pick it out of anywhere. And so these are some of the great people that I got to work with that become your fast friends, right? When you're bathing together and working in the fields together, great things happen. So I show up with 3 oils. I owned 3 oils at the time. Between April and January, I had purchased 3 oils, lemon, grapefruit, and lavender. And I show up thinking I'm all oily. And these people, this is pre-TSA, right? They come with literal gallon Ziploc bags full of oils. And I mean like raindrop oils. Like you smell them and you're like, wow, what is that? So I got an education real quick. So what we really ended up doing, you can see, this is the little castle we were just up at. And so our beautiful farm is right below that. So we were clearing fields. And like this beautiful geode, I picked this up there almost 14 years ago. And I came home and I had just a piece of carry-on luggage, and Jim picked up my luggage, and it was at least 70 pounds. And he's like, it's like you have rocks in here. And I'm like, I totally do. So we're digging up because we got to get the big rocks out because they just earth up, and what happens is that I was finding things that were like terracotta and things, and so Young Living had hired a photographer, and I was like, what are these? And he's like, oh, the Roman road went right through here. And I'm like, I totally want to keep this. And he's like, you totally should. I got a bunch at my house. So I came home with that. I couldn't put my finger on it today somehow. But yeah. Don't tell anybody. Okay, so we were cleaning up the ground there, and it was hard work. We were out there early in the morning and till, I don't know, 5 or 6 or so. And so we were working hard, and I wore everything I owned every day. And so one of the girls says, hey, do you use the toothpaste as deodorant? And I said, I'm pretty used to pretty. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And she says, do you use the toothpaste as a deodorant? And I was like, yeah, no. I have Tom's there or whatever. And I had 3 oils. So I didn't know anything else about the product. So she's like, here, try it. So I took a little pee. And then by the end of the next day, I was like, I think I use toothpaste as deodorant now. So for 14 years, I have used toothpaste as deodorant, even though we have deodorant now. We didn't used to. So I forget to tell people that we actually have deodorant. But so the big rocks came out, and then we got to plant. So these were the original plants that went in. And if you see Jean-Marie's father here, so cute. I mean, his whole family, like he was born into a family, like this is what he does for a living. You were born into the farmer life and you are a farmer. And so as we were planting, so this is his son, Jean-Marie, and you probably saw if the last couple of years at convention, 2 years ago, I think, was the last time they were here. And Jean-Marie was there and Jean-Noel, who both run our farm there. And so we actually got to get on the planter and plant lavender. I mean, just like how picturesque is this? Like I was in heaven. Like I didn't want to leave. And so Jean-Marie, his dad, throws his hat down. And if you know me, I'm pretty much a germaphobe. And I didn't know how old this hat was. And so it didn't like really go on my head. And we'll come back to that. But I knew it was special being there, but I didn't know how special yet, right? Have you ever been part of that? You know something's going on, but you're like, don't know until a little bit later. And so these fields, they had just been cut. So this was the original lavender, of the lavender that we had been leasing and using on the property, but now we owned it. So they had this beautiful wood sign made and hand done, painted, so beautiful. And like I didn't know, I'm like, oh, that's a pretty sign. And so then it's put up, and this is on the front of the catalog like a month or two after we get back. And I'm like, oh, that was kind of a big deal. Like I didn't know. Who knew? So Gary always does something special when you're on a trip with him. So he had this local lady take us around, and she was showing us the local lavender, what we call wild crafting, right? The two different species of lavender that they were finding in the hills surrounding Simeon there. And then this is what they call a co-op growers distillery. So this is what our Young Living distillery. Now Young Living owns it, whereas it was a co-op before. And this is the boiler. Gary's checking that out. I mean, 80, 100 years old, little rust, whatever, still does the job. And he was learning how and building the best cookers, what they call the cookers, in the world at this point. So these are what they call the plugs. This is the lavender after it gets cooked and steam distilled, right, and gets our oils out. And then that goes back onto either in the compost pile or back onto the fields. So it was an amazing time. We were at this same distillery just 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And then we got the honor of meeting Marcel Espew, and he was the president of the Lavender Growers Association. And this was like huge. For Gary to meet Marcel was a huge honor. It took years to happen because they really didn't want Joe Schmo American coming in and thinking he all knows stuff that they've been doing for hundreds of years and going to go back and adulterate it. And they didn't know Gary, right? And so Gary earned his way to actually meet Marcel. And then Marcel and Jean-Noel's wife, Jan, took us to see cypress distilling. And I asked Gary, I'm like, so this is where we get our cypress oil? And he's like, oh, no, his oil's not good enough. I just wanted you to see, a little different. So I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. And in fact, we were in the fields working one day, and I didn't quite know what was going on. This man came in, and he had flown in, I think it was from Italy, and because he heard Gary was in Europe. And he flew in. He had been one of the growers that Gary worked with, but something hadn't gone right. So you only cross Gary once and try to pass off an oil as pure or whatever when it wasn't. And so Gary cut the ties with him. He was there to beg his way back in. And so as I'm watching, I'm picking up rocks, and I'm like, what is going on over there? And Gary was just like, yeah, thanks for coming, not happening. But it was very interesting. Just right then, I just kind of saw what that was going to look like for the value of Young Living throughout the world. So a little cypress that wasn't good enough for us. And then we were at the home of Marcel and Marta, and we got to see Marta a few years ago. Marcel has since passed. And just a lovely couple. And Gary brought this beautiful picture that he had framed up for them of the lavender seeds in the 90s that he had put in his boots onto the plane to plant in Spokane, Washington. And this was now the lavender that was growing in Utah and Idaho. So he wanted to show them how healthy, what he had done with what he was given, right? So we stayed at this beautiful little chateau. We are cooking our meals together. And it was just a real special time for sure. And then every evening, we would actually go up in what I call the upper room, and Gary would teach us, like, all non-compliant stuff. And of course, we didn't know that, right? It was amazing. That's where I learned things. And so he was showing us a raindrop that night. A couple nights later, I got my raindrop. So my first raindrop was given by Gary. That's a pretty good deal. So it's been hard to follow that. I had a twitch in my arm from my back, and I was like on a butcher block thing in the kitchen. That's where I got my raindrop. It wasn't on a nice cushy thing. And when he was pushing so hard into there, I thought, this is it. I'm just going to pass out. Like, I could not breathe. And he was laying on that thing so hard because he wanted it to release. I came back and my massage therapist said, what happened to your twitch? I said, I left it in France. So, special touch there. But Gary never disappoints. He always wants something. So we were there for 10, 11 days. And so on Sunday, he was like, we don't work on Sunday. I'm going to go take you on a tour. So, 13-hour tour. So, we went through these, and this is all around the area, and you can see the difference in, this is the Lavandin, which is a hybrid, right? It has its own qualities. We have it in our purification oil, but then we have the, these are just older ones, but you can see very uniform cut. Everything's the same size. It's just a totally different animal, shall we say, than the Lavandula gustifolia, which is our true lavender. And so this is just a part of way of life there. So they go and they harvest these, and these showed up at a nice little open market that I begged Gary to, and he gave me 10 minutes, and I shopped and bought this tablecloth and a couple other things. So I was happy for 10 minutes. Because we were on a mission. He wanted to show us the Gorges du Verdon, which is the Grand Canyon of Europe. It was fantastic. And so this is where we had lunch. Like, I'm taking a picture where we were eating. So you were never disappointed when you go on a trip with Gary. And then in this one, you can see, this is over at Castillon. This is a little church up here on this, and we're coming around this corner, and he says, oh, this is where Napoleon took his troops in the wintertime because it was low. And he's just that kind of history, right, that you're just like, what? So then I had a Sound of Music moment. Because he took us to his mentor, one of his, right? He had Marcel, and then he had Henri Vailloud. And Henri, same thing. He did not want anything to do with this crazy American. And so Gary just ingratiated himself to him, I'll feed the firebox, I'll do whatever, you want to do. So he, time after trip, he would try to get to know him, to learn things, and he was pretty closed off. So the night that he actually came to dinner with Jean-Noël, and they got to sit together and have a little conversation, was the breakthrough moment, but it took years. So this was Mr. Vailloud's house, 600-year-old house, and over here on the right, they have like a room, shall I would say, of oils. So what happens? This is his widow here, Mrs. Vailloud, and moments after this, she didn't know I took the picture, and she's like, no pictures, please. And so Gary got this picture, and I got this picture, and that was about it. So ask for forgiveness, not permission. So what happens in France is that the pharmacy calls. Hey, Ms. Vailloud, I need, this person has this issue, and she blends up the oils, and it's sent over to the pharmacy, and then you go up and pick up your prescription. I was blown away by that. This is where Gary started. This was the distiller, the cooker that he started with. This is behind the house, and then the distillery is actually up here with the newer one. But he would sit there, and this is, wood for burning, but he would sleep in a sleeping bag there. He would go in the hills behind there, and they would wildcraft. And this is where Mr. Vailloud probably taught him, how to do all of those things. And that's how he learned, was trip after trip after trip of going and just sitting at the feet of the master, being taught. Mr. Vailloud is known as the father of distillation throughout the world. So they did thyme. Thyme is what I remember seeing there. Thyme, rosemary, and lavender is mainly what he did, I believe. And, from the hills behind the house. 98% of the essential oils today are for the perfume and cosmetic industry, and only 2% is produced for the therapeutic realm, right? So France exports 100% more lavender than they grow. So if you do the math on that, you know that that is impossible. So that means that it's adulterated and cut to send out and be dubbed, pure oil, right? So this is what Gary did not want to have happen. So this is overlooking like this, like the house is over here, and this is this huge canyon. I mean, I don't even know how high it is up. So he'd just sleep here in a sleeping bag all night, feeding the fire, checking everything, because things would take, a lot longer until, that still happens today. Our guys stay up sometimes it's 24 hours, 12 hours to do a certain distillation. So it's an amazing time. Yeah. So one night, one of our last nights, Gary, we're sitting there, and it was just after dinner, and at this table, he rolls out this huge blueprint. And he said, so this is the farm at Mona, Utah. And again, I didn't know anything. I didn't know where Mona was. And he says, I'm going to build this Western village and this medieval village, and I'm going to have jousting over here and all this stuff. And I'm looking at this going, okay, he's totally crazy. Like, I was tracking with you the whole trip, but now, I don't know about this. This is crazy. And, that came true. So that night also, Jean-Noel, he showed us this beautiful copper distiller, which that's what they used to do for, small batches. And he's showing you the floral water down below and then the oil sitting on top. And so this is the floral water, and I wrote on there, 7th of April, 2003. There's just a little left in here. It's all evaporated because I didn't want to use it, right? So it evaporates instead. Whatever. So use your oils. Don't keep them forever. And then Jean-Noel gave Gary this little travel distiller that was like 100 years old, even at that point. So amazing thing. So this is us 11 and a half years later in the same field. So that was a very special time to be there again. Jean-Marie, 11 and a half years later. And Dad has the same hat on, I think. I'm not even sure. But I had a picture with me with that hat on, and he was like, wee wee. He remembers like that, right? Because nobody wears his hat. So this is where we were cleaning, right? Because this is where the town is right here. And this is Gary. Now that's planted with einkorn. And every 7 years, he rotates the crops, rotates the fields to make sure that the right nutrients and things are in the soil, right? And of course, no chemicals ever on them or anything. So amazing thing. So we have 8 farms around the world. One is missing here in our Croatia. Had a little conversation with corporate on this yesterday. And so Salalah, Oman, that's where our frankincense comes from. And Simeon, there, lavender, among other things. Mona, Guayaquil, which we'll talk about. St. Mary's as well. Highland Flats. And then our newest one in British Columbia in Canada. So that's our Northern Lights. That's where our Northern Lights black spruce comes from. Who loves that oil? Yeah, it's so good. Okay, how about... How about my first toothpaste? What other personal care product did I use this for? Thanks, sweetie. And how about from our friend's farm, our einkorn granola? Who loves this? This is delicious, right? So what did Henri Vailloud tell Gary that spurred him on to invest in farms around the world?
If you don't grow it, you won't have it.
There we go. That's right. Right, so I want you to remember that. If you don't grow it, you won't have it. Because these farms are not inexpensive. Just even purchase the land, much less do everything that you're going to see right here. So this was my second moment. So this was the next summer. So this is August of 2004 at St. Mary's. This was Young Living's first farm, and it's about 200 acres. This is where the first distillery was built. It is gorgeous up there. This is now where Gold Retreat happens. So when you hit the rank of gold for 3 months in a row, Young Living calls and says, okay, this is when our retreat's happening. When would you like your flight to be? And they arrange everything for you and treat you like a queen and king. And you get to go and have a fantastic time all on the company. So I love that. Silver retreat, you get to go to Mona, Utah. Gold is St. Mary's here. When you hit platinum, they fly you to Ecuador for a week to do that. And then diamond and above, we change around every year. Last year was Hawaii. The year before that was Croatia and France. The year before that was all of southern France. And we're going to Australia in May. So, all on the company. So you want to do this. Just saying, just for the travel. Yeah. So Gary does some amazing things. He always, every step of the way, he teaches us what we're doing and why we're doing it. So even on the lavender starts, how to handle them, what we're going to do when we put them in. Here's Eldon Niddle, if you all know our amazing upline. There's my mom working in the field with her new friend, Jesma. So these were the little nursery, shall we say, for the lavender, where the little bitty, they weren't seeds, they were just little seedlings. And then we would put them into the ground, also small plants. These are some of the first fields are done there. And so then we get to weed. And let me just say, till you've planted and weeded all day, the first thing that comes to your mind is, we don't pay enough for these oils. Like, this is backbreaking work. So, and we're just there, like, to do it for a week or a couple days, or when you go on one of your retreats, they let you do it for an hour, like, just to try it. But, like, we're really more in the way than actually doing it. So, to be able to understand what goes into our oils, this is where you want to be. So then we'd get to weed some more. Yeah. And then we'd get these beautiful, beautiful rows that were ready to be cut. And so Gary had just, a couple months before, gotten this cutter, lavender cutter, flown over from France. And you can see how beautiful it does. It cuts the rows. I mean, it's purpose. So I thought that was Eldon when I first grabbed this picture. It was Gary. And then you get to lay in the lavender. So until you've laid in a pile of lavender like that, you just kind of don't even know how good lavender smells. It's just amazing. And the bees are usually with you. And then and it looks so different now. I know this was 13 years ago. And so this is the big distillery. And this was the largest in the world at that time. And so we dump the lavender out, pitchfork it in, get in there and stomp all around. My picture from this time had someone from another company in it. Didn't want to put it up there. All right. So Eldon and Gary, always right there, knowing exactly what to do. So Gary is working with the steam. You can see the lavender oil right here coming up, and the floral water. And look at the color of this beautiful oil. You might recognize that's Crown Diamond. Kathy Cowie there. She was gold at that point. I was a nothing. And loved every second. It was so amazing. And so now it looks so different. How many of you have been there lately? It's Simon Gold Club, right? Does it look totally different than that? Like the hills are like covered now, right? Yeah, more growing. So we grow 3 things there: lavender, Idaho tansy, and Melissa. Melissa's our most valuable oil. Most valuable player. And we get to stay in tents. Y'all get to stay in things now, like buildings. People were amazed. I don't camp well, and only for Gary and this experience when I camp. But he fixes breakfast every morning because he had nothing else to do. And there's just lavender everywhere, right? Even in your mom jeans. So if you know what the kids look like now, their 2 sons, Jacob and Joseph. This is my mom holding Joseph, and Mary and Sharon are giving Jacob a haircut. So I knew at some point I'd need some black male pictures, so I took those. So this is where I got to meet our amazing upline, Eldon Niddle. He was working on the farm, always worked on the farm, every harvest, every farm with Gary. And I didn't know he lived 20 miles away from us in Wiley. and had to go to Idaho to meet him. So he was Gary's best bud and a fantastic historian, always taking pictures, taking video of everything. So he and his wife Nancy started with Gary before Young Living was Young Living, before Gary met Mary. So those of you on their team, know how special your legacy is because of them and all of their efforts. So he would be gone up at the winter harvest for, this is before people, other, plebs, could go up there, right? It was Gary and Eldon and a couple other people, and they would work the winter harvest, the whole month of January. And it was about 30 degrees colder than Januaries are now, 10, 15 years ago. So the weather has changed up there, but it was totally dangerous. And Gary just finished 2 years ago the distillery up there, and we'll get to see that one too. But they were best buds. Eldon went to be with the Lord a year and a half ago. We miss him. So this is me and Gary, obviously. And this is in St. Mary's proper. So we got to go, he took us around to see different things in St. Mary's. And Young Living, anywhere that they have a farm, we actually make the area much better. And you're going to see that, especially in the underdeveloped countries.
Next, please. Go. Can I help you? Name, please.
Seinfeld, you made a reservation for a mid-size, and she's a small. I'm kidding around, of course.
Yes. Okay, let's see here. Oh, I'm sorry, we have no mid-size available at the moment.
I don't understand. I made a reservation. Do you have my reservation?
Yes, we do. Unfortunately, we ran out of cars.
But the reservation keeps the car here. That's why you have the reservation.
I know why we have reservations.
I don't think you do. If you did, I'd have a car. See, you know how to take the reservation, you just don't know how to hold the reservation. And that's really the most important part of the reservation, the holding. Anybody can just take them.
Let me speak with my supervisor.
Here we go.
Right? Anyone can say they have the best oils, right? Anybody can say that. Anybody can say, hey, we got a gas chromatograph and here's a printout with a nice little graph on it, right? Anybody can do that. Anybody can slap a label on a bottle and say ours is the best, it's 100% pure. You only need 5% of oil and you don't even know how that was distilled to be able to call something pure. So anybody can do that, right? But isn't it the holding of the values, the holding of the standards that's the important part, right? So that we hold those standards that Gary set way years ago, decades ago. They are higher than the France standards, which has always been the premier standard in the world. This is where the French standard is, this is where everybody else is, and this is where Young Living is. Pretty amazing. So it's the holding of that value, right? I try not to just always slip Seinfeld in, but I love that really shows that is the important part. So anybody can have a good marketing team and tell you what they want you to hear to buy their oils, but that's not what we do, right? Otherwise, we'd have Valor in stock all the time with inferior ingredients and peace and calming, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And so no one else does this but Young Living, which is why I'm more passionate today than 14 years ago once I've even started seeing the benefits for me and my family in that. So I got to give away. Who has these lovely lavender dryer balls? Do we not love these? Okay, so we are going to, Philip is on point tonight. Thank you. So, first one to say how many Young Living owned and global farms we have and to name them. Black shirt in the back. Oh, okay. Here we go. I'll try to keep track. Which Idaho? Mm-hmm. Is that? Am I? She already said that. Was that it? Idaho? And? There we go. That was a team effort. Everybody gets a dryer ball. It's like Highland Flats. Yes, and we're going to talk about that one because that's like so fun too. Oh, Finca Botanica Aromatica. Oh my heavens, Ecuador. Why Ecuador, right? People are like, why not Honduras or why not somewhere else, you know? And this is one reason. One of the big reasons is the 44th article in the Constitution in Ecuador reads that they will uphold, promote, and support the teaching and practice of natural medicine, right? So Gary's like, that's where we want to be, someone that supports that. So Gary's always looking for virgin land, that there has not been, you know, chemicals all over it, that there hasn't been practices that shouldn't be, or someone who, you know, as a foreigner, you come in and then you do all the right things, and then who knows how long goes down the road, and then they go, oh yeah, that was our farm and we're taking it back, right? So when he found this this property, like it was what nobody wanted. Like nobody wanted this property. It's about 2,300 acres. And you can see here, we're driving on a road that he built. And it is scrub, and this is during the dry season. And you have to take a machete through there before you can get tractors in there to bulldoze stuff. So just a little bit of work. So this is where he showed Mary his big vision from this mountaintop and said, see all this? This is going to be a farm. And she was like, what? And so then he cleared this part and just started building the distillery first. And she's like, I'd like to live somewhere. That would be great. And so he built her little house, which you'll see later. But this is like jungle, untouched, never been anything in there, right? So you got to make a road to go in there. Miles and miles of road, and then the monsoons come and they wash it out, and you can't get anything through there, and they just keep on coming. The rains keep coming and keep coming. So there was no water on this land at all. So how do you have a farm with no irrigation? You have 6 months of the year, crazy pouring rain, and 6 months of the year, the dry season. So how do you grow things? So he needed water on there, so he had to build a dam here and a dam here. And it's all a road, actually, as well. So I want you to hear from his story.
It started raining.
Y de repente empezó a llover.
And the rain was coming strong.
Y la lluvia fue fuerte.
And I didn't have the dam sufficient or high enough.
Y no tenía suficientemente altura para soportar esa agua.
And we were hauling diesel in on that tractor and getting stuck trying to get to the cat with the diesel because of the rain.
Wow.
And I went home. And I said, Mary, boys, come. I said, we got to talk to Heavenly Father. Okay, so we had prayer, and I said, God, I says, I know we need the rain, but let it rain everywhere but the mountain where I'm building the reservoir. As I can't, if I can't get the reservoir built, we won't have water for next year. I said, so just stop the rain on the mountain and the reservoir site.
Y él siguió orando y dijo a su familia, a su esposa y a sus 2 niños que ojalá que no pase nada y que van a seguir conservando ese lugar, ese reservorio de agua.
And the next day, the rain stopped.
Y al siguiente día la lluvia paró.
And it rained everywhere except right there where I was building the dam.
Y eso pasó alrededor del lugar, pero menos adentro.
We had trouble getting from the diesel to the cat, and then walk over on the mountain where we were building the reservoir, and it was dust.
Wow. It was only polvo. Polvo.
Right?
Only dust in the wind.
Yeah. And Panchito's crew said,
Ahí construimos el agua, claro, el doctor trabajaba de noche con piedra.
And he said that the doctor starts to work at night, in the midnight even, with stones and stuff like that.
Sí.
Dime más acerca de qué él hacía.
Cuando él hacía,
Sí.
el doctor anochecía, por ejemplo aquí, cuando recién se comenzó a construir.
He said that the
Sí.
doctor stay here, even he don't sleep, to try to finish what he started.
Sí, pero
Excuse me, maybe it's my voice.
para mí también parece que nunca se iba a hacer con lo que está ahorita. Cuando era la montaña seca esto.
It was only a dry hill, very dry.
Sí, gracias a Dios y al doctor.
Thanks to the Lord and to my boss and to
Está
my
lo que está ahorita. Sí.
Gary.
That's
It's
right.
like that now.
Es un campo totalmente cambiado.
It's a
diferente a lo
very
que era antes.
big change that the Lord made it in this area.
Amen.
so we've just, we've seen a lot of very special blessings here.
Ellos tienen muchas bendiciones.
And some of Panchito's crew, they were saying, the doctor has magic.
Y Panchito dijo, el doctor es mágico.
De verdad.
But
No, but it wasn't him.
for 6 weeks,
Through
it
him.
never rained on that spot where we were building the dam. But it rained every day, all the way around. Every single day. And when I finished the dam, I said, Father, thank you. And that night it poured.
Y
And the
cuando esa
reservoir
noche paró, entonces le dijo, muchas gracias por todo lo que tú has hecho.
Sí,
Thanks for everything you gave
una
us.
lluvia demasiado fuerte.
He said it was a very nice rain that we don't have before.
Ya la represa ya no resistía más.
Even the container doesn't resist more with so much water.
Paró la lluvia.
And then after he started to pray, the rain stopped.
Sí.
Yeah, we had some wonderful times.
Yeah. That's the beginnings here,
Yeah,
right?
it was. I mean, we started, you look at this, what you've seen, and we started here 5 years ago.
Wow, él empezó
January,
apenas
5
5
years
años
ago.
atrás y han habido muy grandes cambios.
Sí, claro.
Sí, ¿no?
Sí. Un cambio, aquí tenemos trabajo, gracias a Dios. y
He said thanks
al
to the
doctor.
Lord, they has a lot of work
Tenemos trabajo, lo que antes no teníamos.
that
por ahí.
before we don't have to support even ourselves.
Nunca había visto esto. Nunca,
They
nunca,
they never have that kind of things that for them is almost as impossible. But through Dr. John, it's possible now, through the Lord. And then,
Yeah. So what I wanted you to hear from that is like, this is one farm. This is one 6-week period. It takes a lot of effort to make these things happen. And it takes a ton of not just work, but legal stuff to get in there, money. The locals don't really trust foreigners coming in there, of course, right? Because no one's ever gone into Chang'an in the middle of nowhere, Ecuador. And so this guy wants to come buy 2,300 acres of land, and we're really nervous about what that looks like, for our community, even though our community has nothing. But it could be worse, right? So I mean, Gary was threatened at gunpoint multiple times, machete point. He was dragged off into to jail. And in fact, one of the gentlemen in that video, threatened Gary with the machete. And few days, week later, Gary went to this man's house, and the man was like, what are you doing here? Like, I was just threatening you. And Gary's like, I want to offer you a job. And he was like, oh, what do you mean? And he's like, well, I know, you're passionate, and I like that. And right? And he says, so what Gary offered it to pay him for a month's salary was more than he had ever made in his entire lifetime cumulatively. So they don't know when Young Living comes in, they don't know that we're there to make it a better place, right? So it takes a lot of years of trust and showing that. So now we employ hundreds of people at the farm, many of which are parents of the kids at the academy that you'll also get to see. So there is huge benefit in being around a Young Living farm, right? This was what was all covered with foliage like you saw before. Now it's all cleared, and we were planting Palo Santo trees. That's the Palo Santo forest now. This is one of the reservoirs here, and this was Mary's first house. This is on the other side there where I was standing taking that picture, and this is the clinic now. This is the big distillery. There's a huge pad here, and things are a little different in Ecuador, right? You got a little AK-47 protecting you while you're distilling. A little different than Idaho. But here's acatea leaves that had just come in from the jungle to dry out on the slab here before they go into the cooker, and everything, how minutes that lays out after they're harvested. So we take a little bit, distill in a small distiller. Okay, what compounds are coming out? Does it need to sit there longer? Does it need to be distilled now, which means all hands on deck and everybody's up all night? I mean, it is a science, but it's also an art. So here are some of the things you see: Dorado Azul, oregano, ylang ylang, Palo Santo. So they distill in small batches, and Gary's going to tell you about that here.
One is behind Enrique. You see the little tubes running there and the small Clevenger units. And when we're gathering plants from the jungle and that, we'll bring them in and we just do a real simple distillation there, which will produce about 3 milliliters of oil. And then from 3 milliliters of oil, that gives us enough to run a GC and a mass spec analysis on it. After we do that, then I can determine whether it's something that we want to pursue or not pursue. Because there's a lot of plants out there that produce oils, but a lot of plants have similar compounds that overlap and basically just mimic what some other plants do. So naturally, we're not going to put into production a plant we find in the jungle that has compounds that are similar to oregano or lavender or something that we already have to defeat our purpose. But that's what the main purpose here is for analyzing small batches to determine whether it's something we want to pursue. If we see something that I really like, then we'll bring in a small truckload and distill it in the small distillers down there. Because the difference between this distillation and distilling downstairs is we don't always capture all the compounds here. You'll capture 80% of the heavier, more dense compounds, but you can lose some of the lighter compounds. But if I see some compound like beta-caryophyllene that I'm really looking for, and I see that's high in a plant, then I'll bring it in and do a bigger distillation to see if that percentage increases in industrial distillation or decrease in industrial distillation. So all that does is it shortcuts, doing a lot of extra work. So that's one of the projects that goes on in this room. Second, this is where all the oils are filtered at here. So we put a organic filter in there, like a coffee filter, and a screen. So all the oils are pumped through it, comes out, goes into the containers, then it goes into this room right here, which is cold storage. And they're kept there until they're shipped out to Utah. That's the second thing that goes on here. The third thing that goes on here is filling and labeling. So this is also the production room, because now we do all the bottle filling and all the labeling for all the Ecuador oils here for Ecuador and Peru. So we're not shipping it all the way to Utah and then shipping it all the way back again. So that's been good. This year coming, we're going to be building a new plant down below here. on the ground for the cacao processing and for bottling and filling for the entire Latino market.
So you do the bottles by hand?
Right now, we're doing it by hand with a semi-automatic filler. So,
how do you protect these oils when you ship them here? Like when you're shipping them, they're worth a lot of money, that oil, that much oil. So how do you protect it when you ship it across the country?
They're insured.
Okay.
It's all insured. We've had a couple of containers that's been damaged in the past, and they paid for it.
Okay.
But, in relationship to the thousands of gallons that we ship a month, we've lost probably not even 1/4%.
Good. Well, I just wondered, because there's a lot of volume in there when it comes to that many oils.
But Young Living is doing something different again. And we're just about through with the testing phase, and we're going to be making another change. All of these containers are going away. I went to China, found a manufacturer in China, and they manufactured me stainless steel containers. And we're just testing them now for combustibility, and the FedEx, UPS, and the shipping companies, Kuehne Nagel, will sign off because they have to be passed off as a safe container for shipping. And we've just about finished those processes, and when it's done, then all Young Living oils will be transported in stainless steel containers.
What are those containers now?
No, those are aluminum. They got an anodized coating on the inside that's supposed to protect them, but
There's always that risk.
I mean, it's the best that exists, but I want the best, not second best. And so we've been a year working on the stainless project, and we're just probably by the end of this month we'll be finished. And Young Living will be the only company again shipping oils in stainless steel.
Another one of those things. Because we're the best. So, just even here, the peppermint, the Dorado Azul, he tried to grow Melissa there. Didn't do great, but that's how you find out if things can grow places, right? In the library, the gas chromatograph that we have there, it measures the percentage of different plant constituents in the oil, and then the mass spec actually tells you, names each of those. And so in that, this was just a little over 4 years ago, we had 288,000 constituents in the library in Ecuador and over 1 million in Utah. There's certainly more than that now. But each batch of essential oil, so that is whether that's from our partner farms or that gets distilled right there, and then it goes into testing. 6 rigorous tests that go through that. And what happens for that, it goes through it then, and then when it gets shipped to Utah, it goes through it again, because it doesn't get shipped if it doesn't meet those standards right there. So, and then what happens, and if it goes through into a product, right, some of our oily products, then it actually gets tested at the end of that product as well. So it is always to make sure we get the best. So when he's like, the ones that we had lost, they paid for that, and we go, oh, good, and yet we don't have the oil that came from that whole year's work of harvest to put into, the blend or something that we need, right? So obviously that is something we don't want to have happen. So they work really closely with all the shipping happens. Let's see. I have a Dorado Azul. It's a typed label, like an actual typewriter. Ruta, when I was there, that we distill. So when you go and you're distilling, you actually get to have a little bit of what you distilled. So that's always fun. And there are just so many things that sets Young Living apart. This is the vision that Gary had, right? 10 years ago. These are the oregano, beautiful starts. This is the test field for the oregano, and it's a different oregano, right? Big old leaf, fuzzy, thick, full of juicy oil. Totally different than the oregano we all have in our gardens. Got to build the worm farms from the California worms that came over. Got to grow the organic corn that feeds the workers, because the workers get 2 meals a day, healthy, organic food, 2 meals a day, all the workers, hundreds of people twice a day, as well as the kids at the academy, over 300 kids now there. And you got to feed the goats, because, these are the corn husks and the goat manure and everything that goes into making wonderful things to go into the worm bins that go into the fields for amazing fertilizer. So you got to have the goats. He built apartments, right off the bat there so that some of the workers could live there that didn't have homes. And let's just build a brick factory because we should and can, and we have mud so we can build bricks. So this was the beginning of what's now in Nepal as well, as we're building homes there. And then Gary just excels in this and the adaptation of plants. And so he's like, okay, so if we have these banana trees and the ruta, right, in rutavala, right, this ruta, stinky by itself, if that is out in the fields, it really doesn't like the noonday sun. So let's plant it under the banana trees because it likes a little bit of shade in the afternoon and it goes crazy. So this is where you learn and you get 2 crops in one area, right? Gary's so good at that. So this is Nancy Niddle, our great upline diamond, picking ylang ylang. Look at all that beautiful ylang ylang flowers. Takes a long time to pick that many. Oh, and there's some people you might know, April and Alyssa. And the real heroes are the people that do this day in and day out. Right? Well, we had fun doing it for a couple hours, and they do this every day because the flowers come to fruition every single day. So you can't pick it. If it's not coming off easily, then you don't pick it, and it'll come off tomorrow, or the next day, or the next day. So this is now the whole complex that you see here, and they keep growing. 48,000 ylang ylang trees. And this is kind of where the Young Living Foundation started. This road right here goes to the farm, and this was all dirt at one point. Early on until Gary paved it. And he would go, and someone said, well, you hang a left at the school. And he's like, what school? And they said, there's a school there. And he's like, I've never seen a school. And he's on this road every day. And so one day he was driving by, and the dust was going through, and he heard this weird noise. And so he stopped the car. And there were the kids in here coughing because these are just cinder blocks with holes, and the dirt was going in there, and they were coughing from the dirt. So he stopped there, and they didn't have desks, they didn't have anything, and it's school or state run, government run, and kids usually by 8th grade, girls are dropped out. There are kids in there from 5 years old to 14 years old doing the same work, and pretty much not much learning going on at all. So he went home and he told Mary. Gary moved his whole family there for years, right? He had 2 young boys. The kids were 5 and 3 or something. And they moved there for years. And Gary said, I have to build a school. And Mary's like, really? We don't have enough going on. And I don't think you have time to do that. He's like, we must. And she's like, yeah, I don't think so. And so he's like, I got to go into town. Why don't you come with me? And she's like, all right. So he pulls into here, and she's like, what are we doing? And he's like, oh, just come in here for a minute. So she goes in there, and she sees what the kids are living with in there. And she slaps him on the chest, and she says, well, what are you waiting for? Build him a school. So that is how the Young Living Academy was born, and those kids went over there. It's armed guard here for protection, and this was just the one building that they had started with, and now we have a full high school and performing area. It's amazing now. So this was one of the girls that we sponsored. This is the first time I got to meet her. Her name's Lady. She graduated last March in the first graduating class of the school, and her sister's graduating this March, and it's her sister on the left, Vivian. So major impact that this company, Young Living has so many distinctive things, but I think this is my favorite. And Young Living pays 100% of administrative fees. So if you know anything, we support a lot of different ministries, and they're 85, even 90%, 92% is crazy high, and yet we're 100%. because Young Living says, oh, we're going to pick up the bill for your $1 million+ budget, right, for all of everything that goes with the travel and the employment and everything. And so that every penny you send goes to the foundation. So this is my favorite picture of the girls under the ginormous, my favorite tree on the on the property there. So how about, I have a question. Every batch of oil goes through how many rigorous tests? Yep. Spotter, breathe again. You pointed over here, yes? Did you? Oh, yeah. Yes, I think it was, Jan, actually. So that's Breathe Again. I love Breathe Again because it has one of our Ecuador oils in it, a eucalyptus blue, and it is a eucalyptus that, even if you don't like eucalyptus or kind of have a hard time with different ones, you don't with eucalyptus blue. It's a beautiful, beautiful oil. It's a great one to work out with too. Sleek and 60. Okay. What am I doing now? Oh, pain cream. Who likes pain cream? Okay. Wow, yeah. So this is how we're going to do this. How many of you have ordered the Cool Azul pain cream before? Wow. I love that. That's why it's out of stock. I was going to pick a number between 1 and 50, but I think there's like 75 people in here that raised their hand. 22. So, why don't y'all just start? I have a number right here. Why don't y'all just start? 9. Who said 9? That was it. You are welcome. That is the Cool Azul pain cream. And it has Dorado Azul. Has this oil from Ecuador in it, among other things. But it is lovely. And we can say pain. Pain, 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 pain. Pain. Okay. Croatia. Anybody been to Croatia? It is the playground of Europe. That's what they call that. Especially Split here. And why we have an interest here is because the Dalmatia coast has the best helichrysum in the world. And if you know anything about helichrysum, you know how valuable that is. How many heard my wild fast track call last week? I talked about some of these, a lot about helichrysum. But this is a little piece of helichrysum and a stone, piece of limestone from the farm, and our bottle they gave us from the farm. So this farm, how lovely. This is what we call wild crafting, right? We talked about that with Mr. Vayud's farm. And you'd go out and pick helichrysum like this, and the oil comes from new growth. And so what happens is that they get old and they get woody, right? And really their high producing times, their best and they you're getting older between they're 8 and 10 years old. So if they're 30 years old, they ain't giving much oil out of that. There's very little around there. And if you can see that we all love helichrysum oil, because Gary's taught us about that, and we have it in products that make a huge difference in our lives. So we need more helichrysum. So if we're going to wildcraft that, this is how things go extinct, right? And we don't want that to happen. So Gary, this looks like a good place for a farm, right? We drove up and I'm like, where's the farm? They're like, you're at it. I'm like, what? Okay. So Gary says that we have to increase 20% annually, 20% of our helichrysum production every year to keep up with the Young Living demand for helichrysum. So we need to farm, right? That is the responsible thing to do. So Dominic, who's running the farm there, he's been experimenting since 2011 on the best places for growing helichrysum, right? Because it's not what's close to the mall, what's convenient to get to from the cruise ship. It is where's the helichrysum going to grow best, which is why it took us hours to get to said farm. So he spent a lot of time looking for this amazing area. So you can see here where the farming has not occurred yet and where the farming has begun. So this was brand new, this farm. When we went getting on 2 years now. So you can see as they break it up, we need the limestone, because the helichrysum loves limestone. It likes, and so does lavender and rosemary. They like it warm, they like it rocky, they like it dry, and so no irrigation is needed with helichrysum, which is great, because there's none here. And so that works out. And so we actually take these huge, there's Gary talking about them, yes. And then this just had come in, was it the white one or the blue one? It had just come in from Germany, took months to get it to there, actually. And you have diamond cutters on these, and it goes down just, I don't even know how many inches, 4 to 6 inches. And because it's like burrowing into cement. And it grinds up the limestone in here, and then they even bring in more limestone. Limestone actually holds the heat, so it'll take the heat in the daytime and protect it from even being too hot, and then it will stay warm in the evening when it drops to colder temperatures. So it makes that nice homeostasis, the best quality, the best amount of just protection for the plant, so that temperature stays level. So you can see how big the Goodyears are standing next to the Goodyear tires, but you can see that they're like huge. So here's a field of new starts, and here are older ones, but like it's blinding. It's like being on the sun or something. But they bring in bigger ones when the plants get bigger. So more and more limestone on here, because that's what it loves. So Gary will pull these up when they're about 10 years old for new plants in there, so that we can have the maximum good oil for that. So here is another place where Young Living Foundation works. This is in Split, right on the coast there. And this is what's called the Mistral Orphanage. And this is where abandoned kids, neglected kids, abused kids come, and it's state-run. But what this organization does is that it takes these kids and puts them into situations that are more home-like. So they have apartments, and so they have 3 adults that rotate in there, and they usually have about 4 kids that live in there, so that they have a family unit. It's very successful, but it takes, in Split, I was thinking, okay, we're talking Croatia here, what are we talking, a couple $100 a month? And they're like, oh no, it's $2,000 a month for a flat there. I'm like, what? So what happens is that if they don't have the money to pay that rent for the next month, like that whole family unit has to move. And that is not encouraging and home-like for these kids. So we're looking at, this was actually the first organization that Young Living Foundation came alongside that was already doing well and established, doing well in terms of they had a plan and had been working that and seeing great results, but needed funding and needed support. And that's what we do, right? If you round up your order, when you go to place an order, and you can check a little round up, which means it's going to be 99 cents or less. If everybody that placed an order did that every month, $500,000 would be raised. We need about $880,000 to purchase a flat, right? So that there's no rent. They don't have to worry about being kicked out or anything. And so think about, you could do almost 3 flats a month just from us rounding up, right? Isn't that amazing? So we couldn't take pictures of the kids, of course, but they were making the best out of the situation. So I took this picture on the island of Hvar in Croatia, and I just love this. This is my favorite picture I have of Gary. And everybody was listening to some minstrels and going in and out of this kind of museum, and he's like conked out. And you wonder why, right? And I think about a couple signs that are in the distillery in Mona, Utah, and this is why the man's tired. Quality is not negotiable. Good enough is not good enough. And so he works tirelessly all over the world for this to happen. So this is our Mona, Utah farm. How many have been there? Let's see, right? If you're going to convention, you get to go. This is all clary sage, beautiful lavender in the background. Fantastic. All right. Do I have... Oh, I might have a little Panoy to give away. What? How much helichrysum do we need to increase our production? Like, I can't even look. Panoy has helichrysum in it. Oh, helichrysum's free this month. Y'all know that? Oh. Free this month. Like, I've never seen that. Here is Highland Flats. Highland Flats, Idaho. Yeah. So you can go. You can go. Because we went last year, April, and she had a team that went just a couple months ago, and you can go work in the cold. Usually not my thing, right? You can. I did. The site of both our winter harvest and our spring planting. And the way that Gary came upon this is he was driving up there with Mary years ago, and he saw all these trees being cut down and thrown into burn piles and burned. And he was like, there's oil in them trees, you know. So he stopped and he was like, what are you doing? They're like, this is an old Christmas tree farm. And like someone... I'm talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, I don't even know how many thousands of acres this one huge company owned of Christmas tree farms. And all of a sudden, a decade-ish ago, everyone started going towards artificial trees and not buying the trees anymore. And then the main gentleman who owned it, I believe he passed away, and the kids didn't want to deal with it. So they were just clearing the land. And Gary said, I'll clear the land for you if I can keep the wood. And they were like, yeah. So that is how that came about. So Gary is always on the lookout, and how can we do things at the best price and make it beneficial for everybody? And this is what he did. So these are new plants, right? Because we don't just take the trees down. We plant as well. It takes 7 to 10 years for these to come up. There's Gary and Nancy getting ready to work. Big old chopper. And so you go up there and you can get a lot of work done. But you can see here that we're not taking every tree down. And you can see here that there's not a lot of green on these trees. They were planted so close, and you know, you don't want a 80-foot tree normally. So you normally want, 6, 8, 10 feet trees, right, at Home Depot. And so these are way past their prime. So they're too crowded in, so they don't have the branches, so they're all going to die eventually from being overcrowded. So what Gary goes in and does is he thins them out and makes them the ones that are there, healthier, and then we get the oil out of the other ones. So it's a win-win-win. So now he has people calling him, hey, I got, 50 acres in the back with Christmas trees. Can you come? Yep. Sure can. So this is how this goes down. And when he built the distillery up there, because for years he and Eldon, in the middle of the night, in snowstorms and ice storms and very treacherous things, they'd have to put chains on 18-wheelers on and off multiple times before they'd get down to St. Mary's, which would normally take a couple hours and it could take all night in those conditions. Very treacherous for us to get our oils. And so he built this distillery, and this is a picture of the very first distillation coming out of the Highland Flats farm. So it's an amazing setup he has now, which it didn't used to be. Used to be what I'd say colder before, and they had none of the creature comforts that he has now put into place. So these are huge cookers, state of the art. He can run this from his smartphone now. And see what the temperature is in the left cooker and the right cooker and number 3 cooker, and it's pretty amazing. So he has certainly designed all of these for maximum distillation. And so, of course, all of our farms have a lab as well. And then, you get to keep what you work to distill a little bit, just a little bottle of it. So amazing things that they have done now with these. What do I want to say? With these living situations, like there are 3 different hot tubs you can go in, and it's the Idaho balsam fir water that they pump in there. Just saying. All right. How about some pine oil? We distill pine up there. So first person that has a compliant favorite use of pine oil. Aromatic, but what do you like about it? True. Good cover. You give that lady a bottle of pine oil, please. It's fresh. It's Christmassy. It supports our Christmas spirit. Okay, what kind of trees were being cut down and burned? Okay. That side of the room is getting it, right? Yeah, the Christmas tree. And did someone say balsam fir? Yeah, I'm seeing that one first. Yeah. So this is the Idaho balsam fir floral water that I had that much left from our time up there last year. So you can spray it all over yourself. Pretend you're in a hot tub with it. All right. So I have traveled the world with Gary, and how many have been to Petra before? A couple people. Yeah? How great is that? We were in Egypt and Petra, and I didn't look so good in a burqa, and so I was a little too pale for the situation. But it was an amazing time, and I want you to know that when you get to, if you like to travel, that's awesome. You don't have to, but you have great opportunities to do things and to get to experience things like nobody else does, right? Who goes and digs in the dirt in France? Like when I first went to St. Mary's, they said, people were like, so you're paying to go work in a field? And I said, yeah, isn't that great? But no one else gets to do that, right? This is the seed to seal. This is you being involved in that seed to seal, that whole process. And the foundation is such a huge part of that. Remember when I talked about Gary laying out those blueprints, and he's like, we're going to have a medieval village over here. And I was like, cuckoo. And about 3 years ago, I remember being at the Mona farm, and like, I'd been there many times. And all of a sudden it hit me. I'm like walking along, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm looking at those blueprints. So never put doubt Gary's vision. So amazing things happen with that. So what I want to ask you, aren't they cute? Yeah, this is St. Mary's. But what is your history in this, right? What are you going to be doing in 14 years? What are you going to say you were doing with Young Living 14 years ago? You know, where's your Young Living history begun there? And who do you want to travel the world with? Who do you want to work with? Like, you get to choose that, by the way. And what amazing people are going to be drawn to you, and that you are going to draw to yourself to be able to create the business that you want and the life that you want. So, you know, it can start with an oil, it can start with a supplement, it can start with Thieves Household Cleaner, all those different things. And the choice is actually yours. And that's why I want you to hear about the Young Living income opportunity. But the wellness, purpose, and abundance, those are across the board. That doesn't mean just finances, but that's part of our health. But how about having the finances to purchase the products that you need for your health, right? Instead of being, I can't buy Life 5 this month because I need to buy Inner Defense more. Well, actually, you need both. So what can we do to help you do that? So I want you to stay for Alana's part, because I want you to think about your legacy. Our legacy, you know, we love the foundation. I've had Compassion International kids since I was 19 years old a couple of years ago. And I'm not going to tell you how many years I've had them. You'll do some math. And we love Feed My Starving Children, something we're very involved with. Our local homeless shelter, our local animal shelter. You know, where do you want to support and put money, time, resources into? What is your legacy going to be? So that is where Young Living has an amazing opportunity, and they give us the opportunity by earning the paychecks to put it where we want to do that. So the business side, it may not be for you. It's not for everyone. In fact, the 2015 income disclosure shows that only 7% of Young Living members pursue the business side, like even sign anybody up, enroll anybody. But when I look at that, I think, am I like totally ticked off at Jim's aunt for saying, hey, why don't you try these oils? No. I'm pretty grateful. I got to tell you, pretty grateful. Jim's pretty grateful. He gets to ride a bike a lot. So, and this is how grateful they are. Look at the freebies that they give us. This month, oh my heavens. If you're on Essential Rewards, how many people are on Essential Rewards? Awesome. That means you're getting points for free products every single month, and you're getting 2 free oils every month. If you do 190 at 100 PV, you get this month Citrus Fresh Vitality Oil. At 190 on Essential Rewards, you get that plus Basil Vitality Oil. If you're just placing a regular order, you'll get the Eucalyptus globulus. If you're on an ER order, you've already gotten 3. Joy Oil, 15 ml bottle of Joy Oil. Who doesn't need more joy in their life? Exactly, I like that. Helichrysum, what? That bottle alone at wholesale is $85 for a 5 ml, and they're giving it to us for free. Peace and Calming, this is the only way you can get Peace and Calming, by the way. It's the original. So, how great. So, retail is $255 for you spending 300 PV, right? Pretty amazing. So this is how we do this. Christy Dempsey, our great Crown Diamond back here, she's going to have an amazing next Thursday, right? Next Thursday. What is that date? 19th? I did some quick math there. Yeah, so the 19th. This is going to be here in, is it in Hearst? In Hearst. So equipping you for the road to success, driver training. Don't you love that? We are here to help you at all levels of things. So that is going to be in Hearst next Thursday. And here are some upcoming things as well. Live Your Passion Rally in a Saturday and a half. And that will be, we have them going online. You can go onto the Goodyear for Health site, and we're posting the local ones here for you. Monthly class, this will be Tuesday, the 7th of February. It'll be the first week, and that will be because we didn't want to compete with Valentine's Day. Not that we can't, but I just hate to have y'all choose, you know. I don't want to come between anybody's marriage or anything. So, pets and oils. We've been asked to do this class for so many years. Nalia Lane, great Young Living leader, she is going to be teaching this because, she's just in the process of finishing. Can I say that? Where are you, Nalia? Can I say that? I almost said it, but can I say it? Okay, so so she is finishing creating, finally, our pets and oils brochure for dogs, because we've needed a compliant one for 3-ish years. And so she's doing that with Oil Revolution Designs. So Lori Gordon, who is the owner of Oil Revolution Designs, who uses her information and social media and everything, right? So she's flying in from Alabama to teach our business class next month on the 7th. So it's going to be a bang up time, and she's going to teach you how to market yourself with Young Living on social media as well as friends. She's a master at that. She does these beautiful things. This is what I use to teach classes. These beautiful starter guides, and like compliant, a great price, and you totally just go through the book when you're teaching a class. How great is that? I love that. So you don't want to miss that. Did you know pet ownership in the U.S., 80 million pet owners in the U.S. with 163 million dogs and cats. So if you say, I don't have pets. I don't have kids, but like I know people that have kids, so like I have to know how to help them, right? So this is what we do with pets too. 63% of pet owners consider their pets to be family members, right? We have 5 pets. They are our babies, and we spend money on them to make sure they are healthy and happy. And so do other pet owners. You want them to have the best. You want them to have good emotional support for their pets, and that is what our oils and our Animal Sense line does. So great benefits there. We're really excited about that. Oh, Young Living Spring Symposium, exciting. That is actually going to coincide with the Young Living Live Your Passion rally for that quarter. They're going to be together on 22nd of April. And then for your training weekly, Alyssa is going to be teaching tomorrow YL Fast Track. You can go onto the Facebook page, YL Fast Track, or ylfasttrack.com and get training on all that. And the Young Living Convention. I know many of you are going. Did y'all hear who's coming? So yeah, last night they said, oh, Maroon 5 is going to be our closing act, and we're like, wow, that's pretty good. So yeah, I might get myself there. That should be a good show. But so fun, right? So I hope you guys just appreciate what Young Living is in your life, right? We love these products. We are passionate about them because we know what they have done for our lives. So that's what we want to teach you. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and then Alana's going to start speaking. We got some great giveaways for that too. And so thank you all for coming tonight.